In this video, I'm going to show you how to back up things from your computer, your work or photos or anything you like. Backing up just means copying the work that you've saved onto your computer's hard drive onto something else, so that if something goes wrong with the original or something goes wrong with your whole computer, you've still got a copy of it. Now, big businesses have fancy automatic backup systems that automatically save everything overnight. But I'm going to show you how to do it using a blank CD or a USB flash drive or memory stick, as it's also known. CDs are a cheap and handy way of doing it. You can get rewritable CDs where you can save things onto it and then clear them off again and overwrite it as many times as you like. Or you can get ordinary writable CDs where you can put more things on it, but once it's full up, that's it. You can't clear the things that are on there off. Writable CDs are much cheaper than rewritable ones, and they're very good for keeping a backup that you know you're going to want to keep permanently. Flash drives, or memory sticks or pen drives, haven't been around so long, but they're really popular. They're quite cheap, but the price does vary depending on how much you can fit on one. They're very small and they can store quite a lot, and they're very handy for moving files from one computer to another. The best way to think about backing up is to do it every time that you've got something on your computer that you really wouldn't want to lose. If you're writing a novel, you'll probably want to back it up every day, but if you only use your computer occasionally, you might only need to back up every week or even every month. Right, now I'm going to show you how to actually do it. I'll start with a CD, and later on I'll show you how to use a flash drive. First of all, open the CD drive by pressing the button next to the tray. On a laptop, the button's probably on the tray itself. It can sometimes take a second or so for the tray to actually open. And then take one blank CD and put it in the tray. If you've got a desktop, it'll probably just rest there. But if you've got a laptop, there'll be a little cylinder sticking out that you need to put the hole in the middle of the CD on. And you need to actually press it into place so it clicks in. Once you've done that, just close the tray by pushing it in, or if you've got a desktop, pressing the button again. Leave it for a minute or so to give the computer a chance to sort itself out, and after a bit of whirring it should bring up a box a bit like this. And you want to click on Burn Files to Disk. If you've got Windows XP, you'll get this window instead. And in Windows XP you click on Open Writable CD folder. It means the same thing. So back to Windows Vista, I click on Burn Files to Disk. Now, if you've got Windows Vista or Windows 7, you'll get the chance now to give a name to the CD. So I'm going to call mine Backup CD. You can also click on this little arrow next to Formatting Options. And it gives you these two options. Now, mastered is the old-fashioned option, and that means that once you put the files on there, that's it. You've created a CD and you can never change it again. And as it says, you've got to write all files at once and individual files can't be erased afterwards. Now, the other option, Live File System, is a bit more sophisticated. If you're using a rewritable CD with it, you can add files, take them off, add more later on, whatever you like. If you're using an ordinary writable CD, that's not rewritable, you can still add more files later on as long as you haven't filled it up, but you can't erase the ones that are already on there to make more space. By the way, if you're using a rewritable CD and you use the mastered option, you still can add more files one at a time. If you want to reuse it, you have to completely wipe the whole thing and start again. So if that's what you want, it's far better to use the live file system. And don't be confused by the fact that it says Live File System allows you to add and erase files. That's not necessarily true if you're not using a rewritable CD. So I'm going to show you how mastered works, and I'll come back to Live File System later on. So click on Mastered and then Next. And I get this window. And if you have Windows XP, this is like the window that you get when you click Open Writable CD folder. You just skip straight to it. Now I need to find the files that I want to back up. And I want to back up some pictures, so I'll click on the Start button. and on Pictures here, or My Pictures if you have Windows XP. If you had some other types of documents that you wanted to back up, you could click on the Documents button to find them instead. Now, to make things a bit easier, I'm going to put the windows side by side. And I could do this by moving them by hand. But the quick way is to right-click on the taskbar and choose Show Windows Side by Side. And it gives you this very handy view here. So the easiest way to choose a few of the files that you want to back up is to click the first one, then hold down the Control key on the keyboard and click the other ones you want. If you want a whole batch, you can click on the first one, hold down the Shift key instead, and then click on the last one, and it'll select all of the ones in between. Once you've got them all selected, you can let go of the mouse button, then click on any one of them, hold down the mouse button and drag it over to the other window, the one that represents the CD, and then let go of the left-hand mouse button. And as you can see, it puts these pictures here. Now, it hasn't actually put the files onto a CD yet. It waits until you tell it to. All it's done is selected the files that it's going to put on the CD. And the reason for that is so I could go back now and find some other files that I wanted to add, either more pictures or something from my documents. But once you've got all of the files that you want, you just click up here on Burn to Disk. Or if you have Windows XP, it's Write these files to CD on the left. Or even click on File and then Write these files to CD. Whichever option you have, click on that. This screen just checks the title of the disk, and you can change it here if you want, and you can choose what speed you want it to use to record the disk. Normally you'll probably choose the fastest one there. And then click on Next. Now, depending on how much you're putting on the CD, it can take a while to create it. This one shouldn't take too long, because I've only put a few pictures on there. And once you've finished, it'll tell you that it's done. And on some computers, it'll open the CD drive as well. Just click on Finish. One more tip though. I'd recommend putting the CD back into the computer, just so you can check that it did actually work, and you can make sure that the files are actually there. There's no reason why it shouldn't work, but if it's important enough to be worth backing up, I think it's worth double checking. So if I just push the CD drive closed again, or if you have a desktop, press the button. Again, it takes a few seconds while it sorts itself out, and if you click on Open Folder to view files, there we go. Those 3 pictures are there, so I can safely know that I've backed them up properly. And I said I'd go back and show you how it works if you use the live file system, so I'll do that now. So I leave it set to live file system this time, and click on Next. It'll spend a few moments formatting the CD, getting it ready to use. So I get this window, where I can put files onto the CD. It's remembered that I split the windows into 2, one on each side of the screen before, to make it easier. So I'll need some photos to copy onto the CD, so I go to the Start menu and Pictures. And I'll just copy one photo across this time, just to show you how it works. So I'll click on this one, hold down the left-hand mouse button, drag it over here just as before, and let go. Now this is where it's different. Before, it just put a little shortcut there so that it remembered to copy that file across, and I had to click Burn to Disk before it would actually do it. Whereas with the live system, it's copied it straight across. That file is now actually on the disk. So if I'm finished now, I can just open up the CD drive by pressing the button on it. And as this message says, it won't give me the disk straight away. First of all, it makes sure that the disk is ready for any other computer to get those files off it again. In Windows 7 you can click on Close Session to make sure that the disk is ready to use on other computers before you eject it. Back to Windows Vista, it's still preparing to eject. It can take a few seconds. And there we go, it's done. I'll just close down this window. And then when I want to copy some more files onto the CD, all I need to do is put it back in the CD drive. Again, it takes a few seconds to start up. And I get this window. Just click on Open Folder to view files. And you get this window again. And you can just carry on copying files onto it, just as you did before, until it's completely full. Now if you want to back up your files onto a flash drive instead, you start by plugging the flash drive into one of the USB sockets on your computer. Now it will only go in one way up, so if it doesn't seem to want to go in, try it the other way up. The USB sockets on most computers nowadays, there are some on the front, but they might be on the back, and if you have a laptop they might be along the sides, so you might have to hunt a bit to find them. If you've got several, it doesn't matter which one you use, they all work in the same way. So you might get a little ding-dong noise to tell you that it's plugged in, and a few seconds later you should get a window with a list of options. And one of the options should be Open Folder to view files. Now if your flash drive's already got things on it, you might have lots of other options as well, like watch video using Media Player. But don't worry about them, just click on Open Folder to view files. And you'll get a window a bit like this. And over on the right here, it shows you all the files that are currently on the flash drive. This one's completely empty. Now just occasionally, on some computers, nothing will happen when you plug the flash drive in. So I'll show you another way to get this screen if nothing happens when you plug yours in. So I'll just close this down. So you go to the Start menu, click on Computer, or My Computer if you're using Windows XP, and you'll get a window a bit like this. And one of the things listed in the screen should be Removable Disk. Now I know the flash drive isn't really a disk, but that's what they call it anyway. So just double click on that option. And this is the same screen that I got before, that it brought up automatically. So now I need to find the things that I want to back up. So as before, when we were using the CD, you go to the Pictures or My Pictures folder, or Documents or My Documents. So I'll open the Pictures one. Again, I can arrange the windows side by side by right-clicking down here and choosing Show Windows Side by Side. Select the pictures you want, just as before. You can click on one, hold down Control and click on the other ones you want, or click on the first one, hold down Shift and click on the last one, and it will select all the ones in between. Then once you've got them selected, point the mouse at any of the ones you've selected, click the left-hand mouse button and hold it down, drag them over to the flash drive window, and then let go of the mouse button. And it'll copy them over. And that's all there is to it. It's not like a CD where you need to tell it to burn them to disk. They've already copied across.
Now before you unplug your memory stick or flash drive or whatever you like to call it, there's something else you need to do. If you look down here in the right hand corner of the screen, you can see this little symbol. It looks a bit like a USB stick with a little tick next to it, and in some cases it'll be hidden and you need to click on this arrow to get it to appear. But in my case it's already showing. So I'm going to click on that one. Then it gives me the option to safely remove the USB mass storage device, and that just means the thing that you store lots of stuff on and plug into a USB socket. That's the memory stick. If I click on that, it'll now tell me that I can safely remove that from the computer. It's made sure that the thing isn't in use, there's nothing that's halfway between being copied onto the computer or off the computer onto the flash drive, so it won't cause problems if I unplug it. So I click on OK, and I can unplug the device.
So those files are now safely stored on my flash drive. And to get at them again, I just plug it in. And you can see this time I've got a few more options because it knows there are pictures on there. But I'll still click on Open Folder to view files. And there are the pictures. If I double click on one of them, it'll show me a big version of it. And if I change my mind and decide I want to delete one of them to free up space, I just click on it and press the delete key on the keyboard. It'll make sure I do want to, and there we go. So that frees up space to put more things on there again. So that's all about how to back up. It's really worth doing with anything that you really wouldn't want to lose. Photos or any documents you've typed up. I'm sorry it was such a long video there.